What's up, internet? It is actually the end of the 6th day here in Scourge. I was going to wait one more day and make it an even week, but a lot of stuff has happened in the past couple of days progress-wise for the build, so I figured I'd make one now. We might make another one tomorrow, or maybe just wait until the weekend or something. We're currently level 96. I have 1609 dexterity. A lot of upgrades have happened since the last video. I have this Iron Commander that's got Culling Strike on it, which is sweet. I got this really cheap from somebody. People were just listing a lot of these Scourged items on the trade site, and the plus dexterity requirement is obviously perfect for this build because we're going to have so much dex, it'll never be a problem. It's just a completely ignorable, excuse me, completely ignorable downside. So Culling Strike, a great thing to have for free. I also found a Huri's Ire that had good rolls, that had free 30 life basically. I did get Siege Ballista enchant on my helmet. I have the damage penetration on my boots. I found a really nice belt that is synthesized that has 18% increased dexterity. So it's basically the equivalent of the Cyclopean Coil, although it hurts our lowest rolls a little bit, which affects like our damage slightly. But it was worth it to get some more life, some flat dexterity on top of that, and then some extra stats. I have one more suffix open here. I'm going to try and wait until I find an Exalt Slam from Harvest. Hopefully Chaos, because my Chaos defense is still pretty suspect. I have some new gloves that are dexterity with percent dexterity. I've tried to divine these. We might divine these right here as I speak. I've been trying to get 10% dexterity on these. Just, there we go. Okay, the video can continue. You don't want to know how many times I tried that. Although I used a bunch of Harvest crafts that reroll divines. But so 1618 dexterity now. And I've got quality on everything now. We're in pretty good shape. I did manage to get a trinket too. I haven't really messed with my flasks too much. Like I rolled them to cover like burning. I have curse reduced effect. I have immunity to shock, and then chance to avoid being shocked. I should change this. I just haven't gotten around to it. You'll notice I also switched the colors on this bow. In the PoB, by the time you see this video, I'll have a slightly updated one that's just going to be my character, because even though we're on day 6, I managed to progress farther than what I expected. Like the original path of building, like the one that I listed before league start, I expected that to take about a week, and we're on day 6, and I'm definitely farther than that. So I'll just link the one for my own character at this point. But I went 4 green, 2 red, right? And the reason is we're slotting in hypothermia in place of increased critical strikes. This accomplishes a couple things. Number one, it gives us a damage boost that is comparable, that doesn't actually hurt our freeze chance, right? Because hypothermia grants a plus 20% chance to freeze enemies which are chilled, we still get tons and tons of freeze. But it's a green socket, which means we can slot in a barrage support for single target, which is proven to be quite powerful. I've taken to doing that for like Cirrus. I just got done killing Cirrus. He tried to blast me once, and that's about all he managed before he died on Awakener 8 anymore. Now, one of the other things I want to do that I've been trying to do is get an anomalous Siege Ballista. Somebody pointed this out to me today. This has a reduced attack piece penalty from quality, but it grants +2 additional projectiles. I don't really need the projectiles while I'm clearing, but in terms of single target, this is going to add +2 projectiles to that barrage, right? So this is going to be a pretty big single target increase. And PoB has it about 10% DPS increase over regular quality Siege Ballista, which is nice. It'll put me a little bit over 10 million single target right now with barrage slotted in. Tree-wise, part of the reason I have so much dex is I do have a brutal restraint. It's not the best one, but it's pretty decent. I managed to get it in only a couple of divines, so I left it. It's got 5% dexterity here, 5% movement speed, 10% increased duration of ailments, which isn't that ideal, and then another 5% dex. And the 10% dex plus all the minor dex that goes on was enough to get me over 1600, so I get +1 more totem there. I also decided to use this Thread of Hope. This large ring Thread of Hope over here, it's costing me a bit of life, like, because, you know, I can't do a Blessed right now. I need the brawn to stay over 1600, and I've got those single mod Watcher's Eye right now, which I want to leave in. So it is costing me a little bit of life, but it is such high value here. We're getting both of these bow notables. We're getting Primeval Force. We're getting One with Nature, Aspect of the Eagle, and Forces of Nature. These are all super good notables. Really, really, really good Thread of Hope. And because this node has +8 to all res, as long as you get one that's not too high on the penalty, this node will sort of wash out most of the Thread of Hope downside. So this is just like too hard for me to ignore. I would like to get 2 more levels, or 3 more levels, and get 1 more socket into the build somewhere, just to try and get blessed. Or those points might just go into life, right? We've got a 6% node down here. We've got some 4% nodes we're still connected to. We've also got the Profane Chemistry. This might be where my last 4, like if I leveled from 96 to 100, it might be these 3 in a Flask Mastery or something like that. But even at 4,500 health, because of how much armor, and we have cap spell suppression, it hasn't been too bad. I think I've died 18, so I'm still under 20 deaths for, you know, pretty much doing all of the content. I've got all of my Atlas done. Excuse me. I've got all my skill points. I haven't killed Maven, and I was thinking about putting this video off until tomorrow because I feel like I should be able to kill Maven tomorrow. I mean, I could have done it today. I was mostly farming and stuff. And I think I still have like 4 more splinters, so I need to do like 2 more 10 boss fights, which isn't that hard to do, right? But I'll probably do that tomorrow. What I wanted to do today, by the time you see this video, they've also released a new patch that significantly buffed the rewards from Scourge. They've done a lot of things. The 2 biggest things are that they reduced the amount of Scourge corruption that it takes to upgrade a map. They also improved the rolls of scourging a map by a lot. They removed a bunch of mods that didn't do much, and they basically allow you to get a lot more of these monsters drop X bonuses on your maps. On top of this, there's like a scaling quantity and rarity bonus that comes with that stacking debuff. Basically, they doubled the effect of that, and they removed the diminishing returns off of it. Both of those things put together, like even just in the few maps that I did, proved that it was a pretty big difference. Now this is only like a tier 5 because I just didn't know how hard some of these mods are going to be, and I kind of wanted to be able to walk and talk while we're doing it. But let's jump in here and see like how bad this is. Now supposedly the downside of this map is that we're gonna lose life. You can see that we're losing life. I've got Blood Rage on now, so at 50% we're like barely losing life with Blood Rage active, so I could just turn Blood Rage off or let it fall off. So let's jump into Nightmare. Yeah, we're gonna get a bunch of scarabs and stuff from every rare that dies in the Nightmare. Go ahead and save that blood. I'll probably not run Blood Rage then, just to make sure that this debuff is not draining too much of my life. And this only took me like, I don't know, 3 or 4 maps of corruption to create this map, which is a lot faster than it used to be. So we're getting just a lot more stuff already. I gotta say, overall, I'm really happy with this build. I wasn't sure how I was gonna like it. I was a little bit concerned about the defenses, and to an extent, like, it doesn't feel squishy, but there are certain damage types that it's more vulnerable to than I expected. Like, it's definitely really vulnerable to elemental damage from attacks specifically. When it comes from spells, you're kind of just protected by your spell suppression, but when it comes to elemental damage from attack sources, that hurts a lot, right? And sometimes you'll just fall over sometimes. Not so much that it bothers me, like You know, I'm 96 and I actually have experience on my bar, which is a good sign. Considering I've only been running like tier 14 to 16 maps. But I think I've just been really happy with the progression of it. It doesn't feel like I need to do any swaps for single target at all. My single target's really strong. It's just like a quick. I mean, I guess I'm swapping into barrage, you know, but that doesn't feel like the same as like switching to ice spear and like changing your playstyle and stuff. I could definitely see myself taking this to 100. I don't know. Man, we're already full. I guess we can't take. We have no room for these 6 sockets with this reward structure. And this is like a tier 5 map. So I have a feeling that tomorrow I'm going to probably test out some higher tier maps. Can't really complain about the amount of rewards coming out of a map that took me like 10 minutes to create. As far as a lot of people have been asking me about if I'm going to make a guide for this build. I mean, I've seen some builds or some guides floating around for this setup. I wouldn't expect one for at least another week if you want one from me, because I mentioned this before, but I really want to improve how the leveling feels, and I have a couple of ideas for that. I'm gonna go sometime next week when I've had my fill of, you know, the new league and farming and stuff. Like I said, my goal for my own character was to try to get this character over like 20 million, which definitely feels doable. As soon as I get a +1 chest, actually, I'll get an extra totem, so it put me at 16 totems. With the anomalous Siege Ballista and stuff, I don't think it'll be unreasonable to hit 20 million if I can get like a couple other pieces on top of that, and maybe just level to 100 in 4-way, or in you know, like Legion 5 ways or something like that. We'll see. But yeah, I plan to. I think I'll write a guide for this, but it won't be probably as soon as some people are hoping, because I really want to know exactly like how I would level this next league. And I want to continue to like try and min-max the high end of it a little bit further to see, you know, what's reasonable to get into and what isn't. Considering I'm this far on day 6, feels pretty good as far as upgrades and progression. I mean, naturally, like if the build becomes popular, like Freezing Pulse did, some of this stuff would immediately become harder to get, right? But the good side of the way this build works is that I would say, other than like Garokin's Flight, the uniques involved here are not that hard to get, right? None of it's sort of like how Soul Mantle and Self Flag, you can't like keep their prices high for very long. There's just too many of them. Iron Commander is another really common. Fractal Thoughts is pretty common. This is a Prophecy quiver. You can actually craft the base version of this quiver as a vendor recipe. So I don't think that you can. The price of stuff would get out of control if we write a guide for it. So after some testing next week and more min-maxing and stuff like that, I'll probably be prepared to write a decent guide for it. But it's definitely not going to happen like until I can get a bunch of leveling experience taken care of, and I formulate some kind of decent leveling plan that transitions into the Iron Commander setup more smoothly. Anyway, that's enough rambling. I am going to get out of here, and tomorrow I'll probably wind up killing Maven and doing some more farming. So I may wind up doing one more video after that. Otherwise, if you want to come by and see the build live, you can find me at twitch.tv/WallachTV. Feel free to click all the YouTube buttons. Like I said, YouTube loves that stuff. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.